Good afternoon, students. A very warm welcome to the refresher session of Science Class 10. Tomorrow is your big day and you'll have to attempt your science exam. Keep some points in mind regarding the how to attempt the paper and what points to keep in mind while attempting the paper. First of all, there are three sections: Section A, Biology; Section B, Chemistry; and Section C, Physics. You have to be careful about attempting the questions in a particular section. If you are attempting Section A, then all the questions must be done together. Attempt all the questions of a particular section in that section only. If you crisscross or mismatch the sections, you'll end up losing marks because the questions which are not done in their proper sections will not be evaluated. Fine? Keep this in mind. Rest, you can do well. Now for the final revision, let's start with the part of chemistry. In the chemistry section, the first chapter, the chemical reactions and equations, you must be able to tell the conditions when the reaction takes place. You must be able to write and balance a chemical equation. You must know all about combination, decomposition, displacement, double displacement, exothermic, endothermic, and redox reactions. You must be able to distinguish between reduction and oxidation, reducing agent and oxidizing agent, distinguish between exothermic and endothermic reaction, and explain the concept of corrosion and rancidity and how to avoid those. Next, acids, bases, and salts. You must be able to distinguish and understand clearly the chemical and physical properties of acids and bases. You must be able to explain what happens when acids and bases react with metals, non-metals, metal carbonates, and metal hydrogen carbonates. You must be able to distinguish and exemplify the neutralization reaction. Understand the strength of an acid or a base, that is the pH value, and the importance of pH in everyday life. Learn about the preparation, properties, and uses of various salts which are generally used in day-to-day life, like washing soda, baking soda, bleaching powder, plaster of Paris, gypsum, copper sulfate, etc. And also understand and explain the concept of water of crystallization. Next, metals and non-metals. You must be able to compare and enumerate the physical and chemical properties of metals and non-metals, describe the chemical properties and reactivity series of metals, and apply it accordingly when you are asked the questions about displacement reactions. Explain how metals are extracted from their ores and differentiate between ores and minerals. Understand the ionic bond through which a metal and a non-metal react together, and learn about corrosion and its preventive methods. Next, carbon and its compounds. Understand the carbon's unique properties and why it forms millions of compounds. Learn about covalent bonding. Classify and explain what are hydrocarbons and classification of hydrocarbons into different series. Understand the concept of homologous series and functional groups. You must have idea about isomerism. Learn about the reactions and energy release, that is exothermic and endothermic again. Allotropes of carbon and the concept of allotropy, and applying conventions towards naming of simple organic compounds, that is the nomenclature. Now comes the biology portion. First chapter is life processes. In life processes, understand what are life processes and what is their importance. There are 4 life processes: nutrition, respiration, transportation, and excretion. You have to understand all of them in detail, like autotrophic heterotrophic nutrition, important point, photosynthesis reactions and the role of chlorophyll in that, anaerobic and anaerobic respiration, transportation in plants, regards xylem and phloem, transportation in animals as regards to the circulatory system and blood, understand excretion in plants and animals, and metabolic pathways and energy production. Control and coordination. Next chapter. Understand the structure and functions of neurons and nerves, types of nerves, how signals are transmitted along the neuron. Understand reflex actions and the reflex arc, the brain structure and the functions of different brain parts, spinal cord and its role in reflex actions and communication, hormones and endocrine system, feedback mechanism and homeostasis. Learn about plant hormones and their effect on growth. So you have to concentrate on plant hormones as well as animal hormones and sensory and motor nerves and reflex action and reflex arc. Keep in mind, in reflex action, a very important term is the relay neuron. You have to keep that in mind while answering such questions. Next, how do organisms reproduce? Sexual and asexual reproduction, comparison and differentiation between the two. Learn about human reproductive systems, the male and the female. Understand gametogenesis, that is the formation of gametes. Learn the menstrual cycle in females and understand the fertilization and implantation, development of embryo and fetus, and apply the knowledge of reproduction in plants. Next, a very interesting and small chapter, heredity. Understand the Mendel's law of inheritance. Inheritance and heredity means generally one and the same thing. Learn about dominant and recessive traits. Apply monohybrid and dihybrid cross, making of the Punnett square. Understanding the DNA structure and functions, DNA and genes. Learn about genes and alleles, a important portion. Understand genetic variation and mutation, and this in turn diverges into evolution. Study human genetics and inheritance patterns and apply Punnett square to predict inheritance. The questions regarding blood groups, the question regarding the different or contrasting traits, that you have to attempt with the help of Punnett square. Our environment, short but important chapter, and it carries a weightage of 5 complete marks. Understand the ecosystem and the structure and components of ecosystem. Learn about food chain, food web, and the flow of energy, that is from the producer level to the consumer level. The nutrient cycle, that is the carbon cycle or nitrogen cycle or water cycle, just an elementary idea about that. Ecological pyramids and energy transfer efficiency. Here the idea is to understand and apply the 10% law, recognize biodiversity importance and conservation strategies, evaluate environmental issues and sustainable development solutions. Now comes the physics part. Light, reflection and refraction. Understand the nature of light as a wave and a particle, but in this chapter only the wave nature of light is discussed. The laws of reflection and ray diagram, formation of image in curved mirrors and plane mirrors. Learn about apply of law of reflection with ray diagrams. Understand the image formation in plane mirrors and curved mirrors. Apply the mirror formula and magnification. Understand the refraction, that is, whenever the light changes medium, it deviates from its path. There is a change in velocity, and regarding that, the Snell's law can be applied. Applying the lens formula and the power of magnification or power of a lens, combination of lens and their effects. Understand the real world applications like telescope and microscope. Next, human eye and the colorful world. Understand the structure and function of human eye and its various parts. Learn about the power of accommodation. Understand the visual defects or defects of the vision, their reasons and their corrections. Study refractive errors and lens correction needed. Learn about the color perception and trichromatic vision. That means you have to concentrate on the concept of rods and cones. Understand the dispersion of light and spectrum formation, that is, the refraction of light through a prism. Both the diagrams, the reflection of light through a prism and the dispersion of light, both are occurring through the prism only. Scattering and atmospheric refraction effects and examples, and power of lens vision correction formula. Electricity. Understand the concept of charge, the concept of current and its measurement, electric potential and potential difference. Draw and interpret the circuit diagrams, understanding the concept of Ohm's law. You have to understand and apply the Ohm's law for calculation and for making ray diagrams. Understanding resistance and resistivity, difference between the two, and the factors affecting resistance. Derive and apply the combination formula in parallel and in series. Heating effect of current and its applications and calculations. Magnetic effect of electric current. Concept of magnetism, magnetic lines of force, solenoid, Ampere's circuital law, there is only a brief or just elementary idea is given. Solenoids and electromagnets and permanent magnets, the differentiation between the two. Force on a current carrying conductor placed in a magnetic field. Apply this law. Learn about the principle of DC motor and its correction. Learn electromagnetic induction and Faraday's laws. Lens law and energy conservation, just a brief idea, and you can leave that. And the concept of AC generators, just the basic concept, no details are needed. Maxwell's thumb rule, Fleming's left hand rule for current carrying conductor placed in a magnetic field, and Fleming's right hand rule for the finding the direction of the induced current when a conductor moves through a magnetic field. Understood? That's all for your concept familiarization. Basic concepts, the most important ones are discussed, are enumerated, and you must keep those in mind while doing your final revision. And the complete syllabus in the form of a mock test, in fact 3 mock tests, is being sent on the academic groups. Go through them as your final revision. It may give you an idea about what type of questions that are going to come. And all the best.